For February 2024 is called to order at 6:05. May we have your attention, please? Hello? The meeting has come to order at 6:05. If we could have quiet, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody's getting signed in and get back to your seat. Billy, would you take attendance, please? Diane? Here. Francis? Here. Joe? Here. Billy? Here. Sue? Here. Katie? Here. Diana? Here. Barb? Here. Kathy? Here. Teresa? Here. And the newly, oh, never mind. Okay, next on the list is your treasurer's report. So, oh yeah, let's do the minutes. Nothing wrong with me. February 23rd, 2024, only want the meeting minutes of January 26th, please. How are we doing? Okay. Any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes as submitted? Yes, Joe?
Clarification, that we referred to as the secretary's report is, the approval of the minutes. Of last meeting, that one.
You second and carry? Right.
Okay.
Okay. That should actually have a date following it. Yeah.
You got it. Yes. Sorry about that.
Any other additions, corrections, or deletions to these minutes as submitted? Jan?
I'm a little confused, the next dessert option is just around the corner, on February 7th, that I got. So we says the 22nd, what's that all about?
It's the 22nd annual dessert auction, biannual. Okay, any other additions, corrections, or deletions? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of accepting them as submitted, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. And Joe, it is your show.
Everybody have a copy. The treasurer's reports were on the counter if you pick one up. We'll go forward. The first item is the consolidated financial summary for January. And we started with a bank balance of 5860. We had payouts of $37.16 emergency committee, $25 for a gift card. That was the only activity for January. Left an ending balance of the bank of 5797.88. The other item is comparative to the budget. Obviously, we didn't eat into any budgets very much.
Are there any questions? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of accepting as submitted by the treasurer, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much.
Can I make a comment on the dessert auction? I got final numbers on the dessert auction.
So,
Oh, I thought that was part of the trip.
no, that's right there. No, go.
Okay, the final income total was 1751. We had an expenditure of $19.37 for merchant services for card processing through the Square product we have. So the final income for the dessert auction was $1,731.65. And per the resolution we made, I think it was last meeting, the board meeting, $1,500 will be applied to the just the general bank account, and $231.65 will be applied to the restricted bank balance, which we'll be using on AV equipment.
I actually believe that the motion is just for $500 to a general account.
You said everything under $1,500.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got it. Yeah. Anyway, and the reason for that is we just created a new line item. So when Teresa Flores, we gave her the money ahead of the check, the check request went late. So we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we're not pulling it out of one account and then spending it and then putting it back into that account. This way we have a way to do that in a general line. Okay. Lots of other things. Dessert auction was great, you guys. If you didn't make it, you really missed a lot of fun. If you did make it, we had a blast. And we had lots of different stuff this time and only one, well, I said 2 cakes, but that was really unusual. But great stuff and lots of fun. And so we have number 22, 23. So that was actually the 23rd. No, the one in October will be number 24. So let's plan ahead for what happens in February next year, that will be our 25th dessert auction. So let's figure out how to do something, big and splashy, and maybe we'll make a real big deal out of it. So Mardi Gras celebration, thanks to Teresa and her crew. I think that was a really fun night. I kind of crapped out early because suddenly I was tired, but everybody was having a really good time and the decorations were great. And I think everybody really did enjoy it. St. Patrick's Day and Easter brunch, we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. We have a new events planning committee that'll be giving you a little talk here in a minute, but mark the dates down on the calendar. March 16th at 5 p.m. is St. Patrick's Day dinner. Easter is on March 30th. Easter this year is on March 31st. That Tuesday came early and Lent started very early, so Easter is very early this year. So those requests have gone in for the funds. I'm still working with Carmen, and that maybe we'll do a Duwamish Valley Youth Corps game night in April. Yeah, so we're trying to set a date with this cohort group before they end and another one starts. Rock and roll bingo is on the second Monday of every month, 6 p.m. How many people have gotten Talia to cut their hair? We're getting really good reviews from those people who have gone, and she's having a good time, and she started this week over at Tukwila Village. So she does Mondays here and Tuesdays there on the same week. I think meeting with Brian Park is going well. We're still ironing out some things. And delivery, Chris Brooks was here with the AV guy and met with John and Joe. And John and Joe and I and Billy, if she wants to go, are going over to the Sullivan Center on Tuesday afternoon. And we're going to see the projector that they have that they're recommending for us, because it's all 3 walls of solid glass. So it's way more light than we get, but they want to show how the particular projector that they have works in a room with lots of ambient light. So we're going to check that out on Tuesday, and hopefully we'll get some delivery date information on the upgrade. If you don't know, I don't remember if I did it at the last meeting, but I call it the Barca Lounger Room, but it's the theater. We'll be getting an 80 or 85-inch television screen very soon. Brand new sound system. It will require only feedback. Okay. It will require only 1 Comcast remote. So, and it'll be a smart TV, so it will have other features, and we should have our Netflix account back for those of us who are running the movies on Saturdays. We can hopefully go to the Netflix account and maybe do some newer movies as well as older movies. But we're patiently waiting on that. Julia is on vacation until March 4th, and I think she's the one who has to do it, and she may have already done it. We don't know yet, but I don't think we'll be using it until the new system is installed. The TV that is currently in the theater room is going to be on the west wall, mounted in the craft room. And where that TV is going, I have no idea. So hopefully when we get through with all of this and the AV guy comes, we will have the ones in all the other rooms working properly. Class Yvonne Vaughn, are you in the room tonight? No. She's going to start a dance belly exercise class. So it's belly dancing as exercise. And so you're not going to learn to be a belly dancer. No laughing. Giggling. Okay, so anyway, she's going to do it in two components. So the class in this room is gonna be 2 different days per week. I don't have the details with me right now because I didn't bring them. But will be for people who need to do the exercise sitting down. Okay, so just like the chair yoga. And then the other class will be, I believe, in the A sunroom for those who are, are able to stand. But you're not gonna be, you're not gonna be learning whole routines, folks. Standing every Tuesday in the community room from 4 to 5 and every Wednesday in the A sunroom from 4 to 5. So it's going to be fun. So watch the bulletin board and watch your calendar. But I think people who are really interested in honestly gentle exercise, you might really want to check this out because you will be surprised how easy it is. Giggler. Facilities committee block, watch for you. Emergency committee, I'm skipping over these in a different order, but we're going to get to them all.
I got a question.
Yes.
Regarding putting the TV on the plastic wall.
Yes.
We need to find out what to do with all the Mammoth pictures.
Oh, those are all just
there.
coming down.
That we gonna mount them someplace else or just store them?
I don't know what we're gonna do with them yet.
Okay,
We'll put them in somebody's apartment.
all right.
We'll take suggestions for it, though. That was from a project now that is probably 5, 6 years ago. We used to have a couple of grandparents' days, and those pictures are all from 1 year of the grandparents' days. The grandkids drew pictures of their aunt or grandma or sister or whoever it was. But that's where those came from. They've been there for a long time. So they can recycle. Emergency committee report, John, what have you got?
Well, the only thing I've been working on is the disaster prep demonstrations, which were for the past 7 Wednesdays. And all that information now is on the Garden Gazette website, so you can at your own leisure can watch all those videos. And then sometime later, perhaps when we have our new system here, and we'll do the whole presentation over again. And we'll add additional information. And on this committee are Francis and Kathy Root. So the 3 of us will work out how to add more information that will be more beneficial to this community.
That's great.
And, but I was going to say, Billy, do you have anything regarding the hall monitors?
I turned it off.
I just wanted to say that the information rack is now out in the hallway by where people meet up to catch the shuttle buses. It has a number of pamphlets on it that are regarding safety and other similar items that the emergency committee generates. Also, I would like to, in the very near future, have a floor monitor meeting for each building 1 at a time, because it's just too unwieldy to do it all at once. And that hopefully will be in the next month or 2. That's all.
I have a comment. We also have the lights for the stairwells, and I'm in the process of conditioning the lights so they're all fully charged. And they'll have, each one will have a property tag on them, so we'll know if someone comes upon one, they'll know what to do with it. And it'll probably be a week or so. We'll coordinate the training on the emergency lights with the meeting with the hall monitors.
John, just for people who might not know exactly what you're talking about, do you want to clear it up just a little bit?
Okay, for quite a while now, we've been trying to figure out what to do about the stairwells, because it's been a couple of years, but at sometime in the middle of the night, we might lose power. And the lighting in the hall and the stairwells only last for actually all the emergency lights, I believe, only last for about 2 hours. They're on battery. So if it happened at midnight, the lights would come on for 2 hours and then go out. And so if you try to use the stairwells, they would be dark. And so with these motion sensor lights, we're going to place them 2 per level. Let's see, 1 mid-level, 1 at the exit. And so as you walk through, the light should come on. And then as you go down to the next level, the other light will come on all the way down to till the time you leave the. Now, we still haven't worked out all the details as to how well it's going to get coverage, but this is a start. And we have to work it out with the hall monitors, how we're going to manage this.
Jan?
I think that we should also have, some lights against the wall, so that when you're walking down the stairs, they light up the stairs for your feet.
Yeah, we can test that situation, that scenario. The problem is that we only have so many lights to start with. So if we put them in one location, then it leaves another location uncovered. So it's robbing Peter to pay Paul situation.
You walk down the stairs.
Yeah, well, we have a criteria for the level of lighting we want. There's something called foot candle. 1 foot candle per at every step would provide visibility. So we know that. That's all I have.
Okay, this project took an enormous amount of effort and of all people, John and Billy should actually be given a hand for the work to get these lights. So, you know, some of the things that we have here, we struggle to get, but we don't give up. So, let's just give credit where credit's to due. It's really to John and Billy on this one. Okay, is there anything under Block Watch report? Not tonight? Okay, go ahead, John.
The wrong microphone. We continue to have the second Monday, 4 o'clock gathering. And right now, things are pretty slow. That is, we're not seeing much of activity. We do keep telling people to call 911 if they see an issue. I do continue the meetings, even though we don't have any big things to deal with it, just to keep the pulse, to see what's happening in each building. So if it's quiet, that means nobody comes. That means great, you know, we're not seeing any problems. But what I expect, if somebody sees a problem or has a concern, they do come to the meeting and we talk about it. So at least we're aware of it.
Good point. Good point. I'm saving a couple of committee reports under new business, so just hang on to that. Barb, what did you have?
Can you please explain to me where the egress street is?
Where you come out along this side of the building? That's an egress street.
Like along where the store is that,
No, the other side of the property,
like where the buses go?
where the buses go out of the property, that's our property, our street. We granted egress to Metro so they can bring the buses in and out. That is, so that's why we're getting cars moved from there. Jan? I understand that, Jan. Everything's reported. And that's the same thing. Find it, fix it. Put the app on your phone, report those trucks being parked down there on Find It, Fix It. It's very simple. The same thing with the truck that's being parked out there. Find it, fix it. The more reports we get, the faster they get them out of here. So let's see, building guides. Do we have building guide report on anything from building A we need to know? Anything from building C we need to know? A long distance thank you to Sandy Rogers. She left us on Monday back to Spokane, sadly. And that vacancy we'll talk about a little later in the meeting, but tell her we said thank you. Yeah. Anything from building D that we need to know about? We sadly lost Michael Friend. For those of you who knew Michael and Jerry, he suddenly passed away, and I'm still just a little bit shook over that one. Kathy?
Yeah, I can bring up James Haywood had to go to,
Stand up and talk.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. People would hear you better.
Anyway, he went to the hospital. He's got 2 dogs. I don't know what the status is. I've been trying to find out because there's 2 dogs, and the last I heard, somebody was a sister, somebody might come and feed it once in a while.
Jackie, I believe, was calling the Humane Society on that because they will, what a lot of people don't understand is the Seattle Humane Society will foster animals for people who are in situations such as James, who go to the hospital, and they will care for the animals and find a foster home for them until that person can care for them again.
Okay, that's
Yes.
gonna say, because I had a possibility of a rescue who would take them in if it was needed, and I thought maybe.
Diana?
One of the things I found out was that one of the.
One conversation, please.
Was, right, and unfortunately, he did not leave an emergency number for his sister. And would not give it when the police asked him. So for all of you, be sure that you have emergency numbers. Yeah.
Right. It,
I didn't want to cheat, you better come and fix it up.
Somebody was coming for a while and she'd come in and help them and go, but I don't know if it's still, what's happening, because I knocked on the door and those dogs were still there
When?
last night.
seriously?
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
Oh, well, maybe that's the
that's
arrangement.
why I'm,
That's maybe the arrangement that Jackie got when she got hold of the sister. I don't know.
I just didn't know who knew
That's
what.
not a good arrangement.
Well, and they were fairly loose, and my understanding is when they went in and found them on the floor, they were caged.
You can't know the cage though. Yeah.
Oh, they left them out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Billy?
I have one more thing to add to the building guide report. I also, as a coordinator, would like to have a meeting with all the building guides in the near future. Yeah, perhaps next week.
Keep your phones open. Okay, couple of things before we get to old business. I have an example of somebody who wrote a very lovely suggestion in the suggestion box. And it made us have a little conversation about the use of the suggestion box. This is a great suggestion, but we have no way to check back with the person who wrote it. We have follow-up questions and no way to ask them because we don't know who wrote it. So I'm going to make a different sign and maybe blow this up and use it as an example of what to put on there. But if we encourage you to start using the suggestion box. And when you do that, think about if I asked you, if you could resolve what you're writing the suggestion about, what would you do? So if you have a problem and you think you have a solution, please write both things. This isn't a complaint form. It's a suggestion form. Let's make it useful. But please include at least your name, first name, last initial, and your phone number or your apartment number. So the person who pulls the things out of the box can follow up, get the suggestion to the appropriate party. If it's a person on the executive board, if it's the entire executive board, if it's a committee chairman, if it's something we'll go and inquire in the office about because it's just something that we need some basic information on. But we can't follow up with you if you don't tell us who you are. So, let's encourage people to use it and use it. So that's that. Who had their hand up? I heard my name.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
There is something that I just wanted to bring up. Sure. When this occurred, the problem, John, it was really difficult to.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay. Yeah, there's a couple of things, and that's one of the purposes of the building guide meeting coming up.
And you asked if there was any other, questions. My question is, what have they decided to do about the dryers? Because
That's not the question. I know that they've reviewed them again. They've gone through all of the buildings and got a complete report on what's not working and what's working. And had nobody in the office today to get any kind of an updated report on, but I will follow up on Monday and see where we are with replacements because we've got machines down again in our building, and I don't know for sure what's going on. But let's try to find out. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go to old business. And that would be the proposed change that's been posted on the bulletin board. And I'm going to give this to Joe, and it comes to the floor as a motion. And we'll need a second, and then we can open it for discussion.
Well, you're managing the reading of it on the.
Has everybody read the proposed amendment?
You can read it out loud.
Starting on second reading.
So I thought we did an out loud reading last minute.
We did. So it's actually, but I said, just do a review of the new language so we get.
Okay.
into the discussion part.
Okay, so the original bylaws was the direction of how to do an audit. This all refers to when the audit is supposed to happen. And the audit was originally going to be done in July, but we're changing it to January. And we're adding language that identifies what is actually going to be audited. So we're going to audit the books of the year just closed. So because our books go from January to December, so it doesn't make much sense to audit in July. So we're adding the words of the year just closed, and it shall be conducted, and we cross out July and add January. And
Not quite yet.
and it'll be done by volunteers selected by the president at its, it originally said January meeting. We're crossing that out, just to be selected by the president. And the audit is completed and will be presented in a written report to the executive board at meeting. And we're crossing out August. We're saying adding the February meeting. Those are the only changes in, this is the Article 5, Section D, Paragraph 4. That's section of the bylaws. And there's another section, Article 9, Section 1, Subsection 5 says the audit committee shall consist of no fewer than 3 volunteer members, none of which can be members of the executive board. That's the original language. And it originally said the treasurer shall serve, and we're crossing, and we're adding the word shall not serve on the audit committee. It doesn't make sense to have the treasurer audit himself.
Chair of this discussion.
The audit,
I'm going to make a motion. Chair of
it says the treasurer shall be
Needs to be a read back.
on the committee shall be an ex officio non-voting member. The ex officio non-voting member is crossed out and the words shall not in any capacity. So we're saying that the treasurer shall not serve on the committee in any capacity. So those are the changes. Is there any discussion or questions?
Yeah, I think she has an amendment to the motion.
Jen?
Instead of putting January, we're just gonna change the word January to December.
Right, so she's amending the, change the word January to December.
Make an amendment.
And if the maker of this accepts that, then we can.
Okay, accepted.
Okay, good. We're not auditing, we're selecting the committee in December.
You don't have a general.
We have a board meeting. Yes, thank you. Jennifer,
People, they always have volunteers step up and do this.
yes,
Why would you have to be selected by part of the?
because the chair asks for volunteers. It's this,
No,
it says selected by the president, but
I'm not comfortable with that. I think that if you were having someone who's part of the body, who, that is selecting people, is that a conflict? And it's only one name?
no, it's not any different than selecting anybody. No. It's a good question. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying it's no different than I select anybody else for any other committee. Nothing, no different.
Yes, volunteers.
The same reason we ask for volunteers and they don't step up, you have to go on the hunt. No,
I see your point, and I agree with it.
But I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you can't force people to volunteer. I'm sorry.
I agree with Jennifer. There was something that you asked me to do, but you didn't ask me, you just told me I was gonna do that.
No, that is absolutely not true, and I really resent that being brought up in public again. I asked you and I sat and explained to you exactly what it was. There was nothing more than a request.
Well, I didn't hear it as a request.
Well, it was totally a request, because I've never, ever suggested anybody do anything that wasn't a request. So, anyway, if people would volunteer for things, Jennifer, life would become so easy all the way around, and Stephanie knows that more than anybody. Absolutely.
I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Diana.
And I don't know whether the volunteers or being appointed, but one thing that would be really handy for people that are auditing, is someone that knows math. What do you need?
Yeah, Jennifer's not difficult.
No.
Even I do a math challenge.
Well, no, it is. I have seen people try to audit and they don't know what they're doing.
And we have very simple, uncomplicated books, and it can still be difficult.
Sorry.
Jennifer, it's fun. Are you still up?
No.
Okay, Jennifer, and then Joe, and then you.
It's all organized in a very, very good way. So that's different than what it was when we did that. So, you know, it's very different now, and it's gone over every month with those 2 reports that the treasurer does. That's very different. That's, yeah, it should make it much more. I mean,
Hang on, then Joe, and then you. Got your hand, Joe.
So in a perfect world, the body would create their own audit committee, totally independent of the board.
Right.
But I don't think that can happen here. I mean, I think the board has to have some
I
control.
mean,
They don't control the meeting, they only control who might be on it.
yeah, that's the thing though, to me, that's a conflict, of a potential of interest. Would you have someone like, say, for example, a bank? Would you have someone from the bank decide who's gonna audit them? And you're supposed to be independent? That's just my opinion, and, you know, that's just my opinion.
Well, I think that's why it's not board members that are on the audit committee.
Yeah, but the selection of them, that it should, I mean, volunteers, independent, you never know who you're gonna get.
Well,
Fair that way.
how are you? I don't disagree with anything that you're saying.
Up to me.
Yeah. Teresa.
So I just want to know, did the audit committee follow a step-by-step guideline in written form?
No, but they will, because, yeah, it's a very good idea.
It asks for volunteers to do an audit, which they may not be familiar with, and you throw them in the lion's den, trying to figure out, how do I do an audit? So I would think that they need some sort of step-by-step process.
Right. Absolutely. Point well taken.
But they, present it to, the general.
It's a point well taken. The only thing I don't want people to stress out over is we have,
Just that if you don't have something in front of you to guide the process,
I'm not disagreeing.
it's stressed out.
I'm not disagreeing with that part at all. What I'm trying to say is I don't want people overthinking, even without the process in front of them, overthinking what it is to audit these very small books. It's a very small, I mean, these books can be audited in 1 hour.
I'm
Yeah.
saying
But you're right about the process.
Here, so that.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So let's get back to Marty and then Joe.
Marty, so, you're saying that we need an audit committee by December, so maybe in, November, we could put up a sheet in the.
We can make all of those plans, yes, in a very efficient manner through the board, yes.
So you have a high number, low number, like minimum, you have to have 3 people.
You have to have one from each building, 3 people. You don't need more than that. I mean, seriously, you don't.
So if you have 6 volunteers, you just.
6 volunteers, you wouldn't need 6 volunteers, but yes, that would be lovely to be able to do that.
Oh.
We're having a conversation.
I could tell.
I was gonna suggest, adding language that says, after the committee is selected, process we use, the general membership can buy off on the committee. But they can,
They, that's very, very political, and I don't think it's a really good idea. That's just my thought. And again, what I believe is happening here is an overthinking of what's going on here. I think Teresa's point is very well taken and overlooked and probably should have been done many years ago as far as writing out a simple procedure of how you audit these books, which can be done in less space than it takes on this piece of paper right here, I guarantee you. And Joe and I could sit down and write that out probably pretty easily.
concepts need to be identified regardless of the.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, Sue.
How about if we change the word, instead of volunteers selected by the president, which seems to be, I think Jen's valid point, change it to confirmed by the president, which would mean that we are getting volunteers.
So you're amending the word selected to confirmed.
Would be a suggestion.
And would the maker of the change accept that so we don't have to go through the voting process? Fine.
Would then that be done in the meeting?
It could be, yes. It could be done at the board meeting.
Open about things is helpful with people.
We've been incredibly open about everything forever. Yeah,
And we're very open with it.
Yeah.
Reading the content, so that's-
yeah,
You're going over it, and I appreciate that.
yeah. Okay, so any other, I've got a hand up in the back and I have no idea. Oh, it's Kathy Rude. I just recognized her.
Issue seems to be, how about this? Volunteers solicited at the general meeting for 3 months prior to.
No, I'm not doing that.
So that the.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
That's like overwork.
Yeah.
We'll get there. I think the other suggestions are really genuinely good. We don't want to complicate something that's not complicated. But we do want to do it right, and we want to make sure that our books stay in order as they have all these years. We should be, honestly, as an organization, very proud of how we've handled our finances all this time, with the exception of one thing that still is a craw in my path, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, overall, we do very well by guarding the funds that belong to the residents. See,
Casey, I'm getting there.
That's all right. So what you're gonna ask for in the November meeting is for volunteers
or prior to that, but yes.
or prior to that, and then in your board meeting, you'll do the selection
And
from
then
all
we'll
of
bring
them.
that to the December, we'll bring it to the, yeah.
January meeting.
Yeah.
Are you trying to create an audit committee?
Not ongoing audit committee, no. You need a committee at one time to do an audit. We don't have any reason to have an,
I wanted to know.
yeah, no, it's a good question. We don't have any reason to have an ongoing audit committee, no. If our books were,
At a certain time.
correct. I mean, if we had hundreds of thousands of dollars and things like that, that's totally different. You would want trustees, which is what most organizations have, are trustees looking at the books and making sure that all things are. We thankfully are not in that position. Yes. Jan?
Not a person.
No. Jan?
No, what about another shade?
We don't care what the other shags do, Jan. It's got nothing to do with us. We are an individual organization with our own bank account, our own EIN. Pardon? Well, I have no idea what other organizations do at any other property. I think we're the only one currently. So, are we ready to call the question on this? Because then I will have to read it aloud so we can vote. Is there a second on the call of the question? All those in favor? Thank you. So this is what you will be voting on. An audit of the AGRC financial records of the year just closed shall be conducted in January of each year by 3 volunteers confirmed by the president at its December meeting. That should read executive board meeting because there's no meeting. The audit as completed will be presented in a written report to the executive board at its meeting in February. The audit committee shall consist of no fewer than 3 volunteer members, 1 from each, none of which can be members of the executive board. That is a change to Article 5, Section D, Paragraph 4 of the bylaws. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? So noted. Change Article 9, Section 1, Subsection 5. The audit committee shall consist of no fewer than 3 volunteer members, none of which can be members of the executive board. The treasurer shall not serve on the audit committee as an ex officio or that's struck in any capacity. I'll read that again. The audit committee shall consist of no fewer than 3 volunteer members, none of which can be members of the executive board. The treasurer shall not serve on the audit committee in any capacity. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. And the reason the treasurer is available to the audit committee for answering questions, but not part of the audit. That makes more sense to people. Thank you very much, Joe. Let's see. Well, once again, under new business, we talk about volunteerism and how important it is in our community, and we're always seeking new volunteers and more volunteers. So we have taken a very quick off the record appointment of a new building guide in C, which will take an official vote at the board meeting. But temporarily assigned or approved is Penny Bailey, if you would stand up. So Penny's going to give it a shot as the new person in Building C, and I'm sure you'll have time to meet with Teresa Escobar and maybe Billy in the meantime. But welcome aboard. We're always happy to see new people. Sue tells me, once again, we need some volunteers at the food bank. So if you're inclined and you want to help with the food bank, please see Sue Thatcher. She'll tell you where you're needed. And I don't know if you want to say now where they might be needed or if you just want general volunteers to contact you.
General volunteers at this point, the needs ebb and flow. So sometimes if any of you came to food bank on Thursday, you see we were very well staffed. But every now and then I have 3 or 4 people, all of a sudden there's a doctor's appointment or an illness or an emergency out of town or something. And just having a backup, even those people who say, I'm willing to be on call would be lovely. I can use the phone in the future. Yeah. Thank you.
Ongoing need for floor monitors, and you know that's in the elevator all the time. So let's try to get some more floor monitors. It really does help when we have emergencies in different situations. We're not stretching some people too thin, and that everybody can have a floor or 2 and make life a little bit easier as we take care of our neighbors. Carolyn, are you here for your first meeting? You're not. Is anybody here for their first meeting? Oh, would you please stand up and tell us your name and where you're from?
Stand up.
Oh, you don't have to stand up. Yeah.
I want to say that she has volunteered to learn to be a new floor monitor, however.
That's great. She lives in the C building. Great. Welcome aboard. Happy to have you here at the meeting. Ping pong table, I'm guessing Bill, Joe, you're still working on that, are you? At all? Who's working on that? Ping pong table? Who's working on trying to get a ping pong table?
Was that like a couple of years ago?
No, people have been talking about it again, so maybe at the facilities committee we can bring that up. We'll see.
You got to appoint you with boot till I got a way to store the.
Yeah, that is true. it is moved till that's why they told us we couldn't have it on the floor, because we didn't have a place to store it, but we actually believe we do. And Jennifer, question for you. I have the round funds for bingo been sorted out yet? Yes, just yes or no?
It was left with someone who's going to look into it. So no, they have not.
Okay, I'll try to follow up with Jackie on Monday. That's fine. We have not purchased a new shelving storage unit for that, but we should probably get to that in the next week or so and get that one sorted out a little bit more. So, I'm forgetting something and I don't know what it is. Oh, yes, I do. 2 new committees. And I'm gonna give the chair of both of them a minute or two to talk. So there's a new committee called the Facilities Committee. And Sue Thatcher is the chair, and I'm gonna give her she's gonna do a little explaining of what and how that will be working going forward.
So we have decided that it would maybe be helpful for us and for management to have a little bit of a liaison between us and them. So we have formed this facilities committee. On the committee, myself, Francis, John, and Stephanie. Oh, I'm sorry, and Diana. So we have met a couple of times and we have tried to identify some of the issues that we feel are important to bring to management. We have a meeting pending. Julie is out of town, as Diane said, so it won't be next week, but maybe the week after. We'll get together with Julia and Jackie and review our concerns. What we already have on our agenda is talking about the trash chutes, which fill up over the weekend and is a big problem for especially those on the lower floors in all the buildings. Talking about the washers and dryers, which Diane mentioned, however, it seems like that process has been really very slow. And we're not real thrilled with that. And then lastly, we talked about the heating and cooling at the C building lobby, which has not had heating or cooling for at least a couple of years that I know of personally. So at the moment, those are our 3 biggies. We don't want to overwhelm them with a list of 25 things that need attention. So we're gonna start slow, but with those things. What we would like is for input from any of the residents about concerns that you have, and remember facilities, it's about the buildings, and it's about, if you see holes in the carpet, it's not about, you don't like the color of your bathroom. It's about things that are affecting the whole buildings. And so, and it's not about other kinds of issues that we may have with how things are run. Yes, Ben?
I strongly believe that half of our issues are fear, or anxiety, and various things that come up. And I think we need a social worker. And I think we need to figure out a way to approach that, and I do think it's the law. I think they have to investigate.
That's not part of this conversation, Penny, but I'll address it, Penny, I'll address it in a moment. This is a completely different subject, okay?
Okay.
So just hold tight on your thought.
Okay,
Thanks.
I have my pick of the fence, you keep that at me.
The thing I would like to ask is for people who want to bring things to our attention, the very best way will be to use the suggestion box. And because we check that very regularly, maybe not daily, but very, very regularly. And again, adding your name and phone number will mean that when I read it and figure out what to do about it, I can call you and say, here's what we've done about it, or gee whiz, I'm sorry, that's not something we can deal with, or whatever the answer might be, you'll have an answer. I think that's important, but we can't do it if we don't know who you are. The second thing is though, just one second, Jen, the second thing would be, if you see one of us and want to tell us about something, please just write a note. Because you see me in the hall and you say, hey, Sue, I've got this or that, and I'll be like, okay, great, I'll remember that. And an hour later, I'm like, what did she say? I can't remember. So please make sure you put your issues in writing, whether in the suggestion box or just hand it to somebody on the committee. Yes, Jen?
I can't write. So I don't use the suggestion box.
You can come to me directly, Jen, you know how to do that. And I'll write it down for you, it's fine. Anybody else, any questions about facilities? We'll keep you posted via the general meeting or in the Straight Arrow News or however we can communicate.
May I make one comment about this, just to the general audience. You know, this is, if I can solve it, what would I do? And try to always keep that in mind, that if it's solvable, you know, let them know what you think, because they might not be on the same track as you about what the resolution might be, and you might have a very good idea. So always try to include that if you can. And try to remember that the facilities committee is not about lease issues. That's the only thing I want to stress, not about lease issues. Which means if you have a problem in your apartment that needs to be fixed under the lease, that's not for us. Okay. And somebody had her hand back up there.
Yeah. I found something that was troubling me and I have pictures of it. Is that helpful to have pictures?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Very helpful. You know, one of the things, we're still working on how this is gonna work best. And at the moment, I don't know how frequently we're gonna be able to meet with Julia and Jackie, and hopefully after the initial meeting, we'll set up a plan where we know when it's gonna be, and we'll know, do we need them both, or is Jackie good enough, or can we just hand things over to Mark in the office, or exactly what's, you know, it's a work in progress, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We will do our very best to advocate for the residents. That's our mission, and hopefully we'll be successful. So, thank you.
Thanks for putting this forward. I think Diana put it forward. It's a very good idea. I think it's, you know, it's gonna be a learning lesson as you guys get rolling. So hopefully it'll be very beneficial for both sides. Okay, the other, Jan? Saying what, yeah, if you're the one who put in the suggestion and it's followed up on, they will contact you back. If it's a general thing that you know, apparently affects everyone, then it will be reported at the meeting. Yeah, and the committee will report to the body just like everybody else. Yeah. Second committee, that's been in the bylaws for a really long time is the events planning committee. And Francis Berge has offered to chair that committee, which is great. And that's who's responsible for planning for St. Patrick's Day and Easter. And so if you want to plan parties going forward for the whole community, you might want to meet with Francis and her. So,
We're gonna be meeting on Tuesday. We're gonna be meeting on Tuesday to finish up some ideas and flesh out our people that we've got. We've got a couple of more volunteers we need to get so that each building will be represented. And we're trying to make it so that it's that our events planning are multicultural. We want all cultures, different things and fun things to be addressed. And we're just now getting started with that. Some of it be parties, some of it might be dinners, and some might be trips down someplace to watch a parade. But we'll see what, we'll know more about what we're doing after we actually meet.
Who's on your committee?
currently, here's your list.
Currently, we've got Teresa Flores, Stephanie Gold, Kathy Root, myself, Teresa Escobar, Diane Jones, Sue Fetcher, Jerry Fowler, and Diane Arnott has considered herself a ghost. She will help getting her company and what have you. We're contacting some more people in the building, see if they want to.
Diane,
When is the meeting up to?
what time is the meeting and where?
It'll be between we'll start between 3 and 3:30 on Tuesday.
Where?
Here. Here.
In this building, in this room? Okay. So if you're interested, you know, to show up then, or get in touch with Francis. But we are getting a few more volunteers of late, some of the new people that are moving in, and that's really encouraging.
Except that I don't have one.
We'll get them to you, but, You know, if people are interested in volunteering and you happen to be in a conversation with them, please have them get in touch with Stephanie. Because she's the coordinator for volunteers. And, she can work in conjunction with the chairs of any of the committees. They can go to her and say, hey, we need one more volunteer for something, and hopefully that can get sorted out, you know, together. Okay, what else is on here? Anything else under good of the order? I'm sure the elephant in the room is about the rent increases. So let's just put that to rest right now. They don't come until September. I've got some questions out there that need to be answered. One of the things that they promised us last time on the rent increases was that all fees would be included, and they didn't do that. And it's kind of how they ended up having people writing the wrong checks, too little or too high. Because I don't remember how much my storage unit is. I know how much my cable is, but I don't remember how much my storage is. So I don't know how to write my own check exactly correct. So I have written an email with regard to that, asking them that, you know, sometime in the next 30 days, that they send out an amended notice to everybody with the exact fees. So when September 1st gets here, that people aren't writing the wrong amount, you know, and causing the big headache of why that box got, you know, blocked off from them. There are some other questions that people have asked, and I'm gonna look through my old notes. A number of years ago, I think when we had our first big rent increase, there were a lot of questions about how low-income housing tax credit properties work. That's what we live on. Low-income housing tax credit properties. And if you live on this property, unless you're on a voucher system, which we have that here, but if those don't apply to you, then you are here either under a 50% or 60% of the coverage of your income can be used for your income. But there's a little more to that explanation than possible. So I'm gonna look to see if my notes are still adequate, that we can just reprint them and have another meeting amongst ourselves, or whether I can call the people in to do another meeting. So people who are new to this property or new to low-income housing tax credit property have a better understanding of how rent increases work and how the 50/60 is applied and what that really means to you as an individual renter. I'm as upset as anybody else that my rent is gonna go up. Because, you know, it's another $95 out of my pocket, and it literally eats up every penny that I just got on my raises, which is the case for every single one of us. But they're not doing anything that is unlawful. It's uncomfortable. I've got your hand on it. It is uncomfortable, absolutely uncomfortable. It's not welcome. But sadly, it's the reality of everything that we go through every day. You have to pay more at the gas station, you have to pay more at the grocery store, you have to pay more at the pharmacy, you have to pay more for your clothes, everything. And this, you know, is no different. I think we're still very fortunate to live where we are on this property, that we have so many other things available to us that we wouldn't have if we lived in, you know, the apartment building up the street that's got 15 units in it. We have a lot of good things, and so I'm sorry that we have to go through this, but I want to do what I can to have everybody clearly understand how the low-income housing tax credit properties actually work. And Shag was very helpful to us last time we did that. So I think that might be the best way to go, is maybe at, you know, sometime toward the end of April or something, if I can get all of the information together again, is to have that type of meeting. We had a couple of them actually, because they were very well attended. But it does help to fully understand, you know, the rules that we live under. And it doesn't make it better, but it does help. Bobby, you had your hand up.
I thought it was 50, 60, 80%.
No, 80/20 is that's an example of the two new buildings at Willow Village. So the first two buildings are the same as us. The two new buildings are 80-20 buildings. So they have a very limited number of units that are under the 20% of those units that are under the same program that we are. 80% of the units are market rate. And all of the new properties that they're building are 80-20 buildings.
Are there 80% in this one?
No, this is only a 50-60. Yeah, and there are other properties, I think, you know, that, like the one on Rainier Avenue, I think was 30-40, or there's a 35, there's all kinds of different rates based on, you know, lots of things that I can't remember how to explain to you without going back to the paperwork. But I am willing to go that route again and have meetings so people, you know, instead of fretting over it and fussing over it and just being angry that, you can understand why you're mad. I don't know how else to put it, but let's go that route.
Another question. So-
Sure.
So will that paperwork, explain that if you make I think I heard you tell me that before, I just want to confirm it. That if you make too much money, you can stay here and pay market value, like 2,600 a month or something?
They can't do that. Let's say you won, I'll use you as an example, you bought a lottery ticket, you won, you know, the Powerball. They can't make you move, but they can change your living rate from this to market value. But they can't tell you have to leave after you've been here 1 year. Yes. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, because it inflates, right?
That's why.
I don't know, that was explained in those meetings, don't ask me to explain that one, because I don't remember. I know I'm here under 60%, and that's all I know about me, and I know that when I moved in here, I was $48 from it making too much money to live here. Yeah, so, Joe.
Christian, my understanding was that the property was, had a 15-year commitment for.
Don't use the microphone.
Credit property. My question is, after the 15-year expires, is there any chance this is gonna become like a 2080 property or something like that?
I don't see that ever happening, but I think it's a good question to ask Ryan how that works. I mean, it's my understanding as these properties of late, and I believe that what will happen with this property is when the investment package expires, which is probably, I think it's sometime in the next 90 days here, I could be wrong, but I think I'm probably pretty close, is that he and his partner have been not bringing in another investment group, that they've been taking over the property. So, you know, they don't have 25 people to answer to. So, but my conversations, you know, in the past about Brian, says nothing will change that we will notice about that happening to us. So no, that this property wouldn't be turned into an 80-20. We'd be rolling out the door with moving trucks.
So is that why they're happy? Not have a social work?
No, that's another whole story. Jennifer, you had your hand up.
This is somewhat related, but it is a separate topic, I realize. It would go a lot easier to run these, and I know they're working on it.
Can't hear
Things
you.
like the
Can't hear you.
water- Oh,
Yeah, can you stand up and talk?
Yeah.
We know you, we can hear your voice.
okay, okay.
Is if you get your microphone off, Joe?
Yeah, I've got mine off.
That's all.
Okay, so this is a separate but somewhat related topic, a separate topic. But it would go a lot easier and we'd swallow it a little better if we saw, and I know they're working on this, things like the dryers and other
Oh.
things getting fixed. And
Well,
I think it's on
okay.
people's minds, but it is a separate topic. Thank you.
Trust me, it's come up repeatedly and it's legitimate. But let me try to get back to Penny for a moment. The decision not to have a social, can we have one conversation, please? The decision not to have social workers here was Brian Parks. And several months ago, we asked you all to write directly to Brian Park at the corporate office on 144th. The address is public, it's not hard to do, and explain to him about yourself and why it's important to have a social worker here. understanding of why we don't have one. And I've discussed that with him personally. I disagree with him. But I think it counts more to have you write that letter and say, hey, this is a small city. This isn't a 15-unit apartment building. This is a city volume of people. And anything that happens in a city of this size happens on this property. Whether it's, I mean, any issue you can think of happens to us here. I mean, you can just look around over the years. So I think it was a mistake, Penny, absolutely from the beginning. I can tell you the social workers who were here still believe it's a mistake because I still talk to a couple. And, but I think the only way to change it is that it's just like why you write your congressman. The more letters they get, the more attention you get. So letting Brian know how, you can use the word desperate in your letter, I don't care. But I'm just saying how it affects you and what the impact was when we didn't have social workers here and how they enhanced and improved our living conditions. I think makes a whole lot more sense and we should encourage those letters still.
I could be wrong, but I've been in other states. I've been directly involved with housing authorities. And it was the law.
But this property is a private property. It's not covered by a housing authority. And you would be right if it were. This was a Section 8 property, the Seattle housing property or King County housing property, the whole building. They have completely different rules. And I know that because my brother lives in a housing property and there are other things available to them that aren't available here because
You have to have the senior.
whether, but
Veterans' right is a handicap.
right.
And therefore, you are the housing, the handicap piece of it is the law.
However, it doesn't apply to private property.
It does.
Well, I disagree with you, Penny, but we could look into it. Let's take a look at it. Maybe we can get, Bob Ferguson to come and visit us, which I would love, by the way. Bobby, you had your hand up,
I think
then
that would be
Judy.
a good start.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby, you had your hand up, then Judy.
Okay, so I thought I had Brian Parks on my contact list, so do I spell Brian with the I-A-N or a Y-A-N?
With a Y.
Right, okay.
Judy,
I was wondering if you would give us the address again.
sure.
It's in one of the, pardon?
It's on the envelope that you got in the mail the other day. It's in the envelope that you got in the mail the other day with the copy of your rent increase.
Okay, thank you.
That is,
Might be that much.
that is the official address. And for people who are wondering, I think they're required by law, under the new laws, that they have to send you one in the mail as well as what they did delivering at the door. They have to be both. Seems like a waste of paper, but you have people who say they didn't get it at the door. And then, who wins that argument?
Thank you.
And I work with the post office long enough to know that nobody wins and it's a mess. Anything else under good of the order? Teresa?
I'll be gone for 5 months, starting March 28th. So the sunshine card, I found a volunteer
And who's that?
and it's Kathy Rude. So-
Yay, Kathy. Thank you.
So she'll be doing that and she'll be talking to you about money.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anything else under good of the order? Seeing and hearing none, a motion to adjourn is in order?
Second.
Oh, hello, gift card.
So last month, the winner was Sandy Rogers, who's not here, so I have asked Barb if you would pick the number, please, between Barb is Sandy's sister, between 1 and 30, please. 18. Oh, joke. Katie Love Davis.
Congratulations. And, thank you and good night. All those in favor of adjournment? Thank you. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
want to stay on?